Welcome to this explainer. Let's get right into it. Portugal versus DR Congo. Now, on the surface, this looked like a pretty routine 1-1 draw in the opening Group K match of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. I mean, the world fully expected a straightforward victory for the European giants, right? But instead, what we actually witnessed was a tactical masterclass, a deeply emotional tribute, and the culmination of an absolutely incredible 52-year redemption arc. We're going to unpack all the layers of history, tragedy, and tactics behind this fascinating game. So let's dive right in by asking the central mystery of this match, which really sets up a collision between two very different legacies. How on earth did a team with just 20% possession outplay a squad of literal global superstars? Think about it. On one side, you have Portugal, an absolute powerhouse, loaded with elite technicians. On the other, you have DR Congo, making a historic return to the tournament. The tactical story here completely defies conventional football logic. And to understand it, we really need to look past the superficial numbers. The story starts with a pretty jarring statistical reality. Portugal completely dominated the ball, holding a staggering 80% of possession. They completed 459 passes. They were basically suffocating DR Congo's time on the ball, pinning them way back in their own half. If you were just glancing at the box score after the final whistle, you'd naturally assume Portugal was running absolute circles around them, dictating every single phase of play from their 4-2-3-1 formation. But wait, here's where the visual whiplash hits. Despite having virtually no ball control, DR Congo actually outcreated Portugal in expected goals, 0.82 to 0.64. And get this, DR Congo actually had more shots on target, outshooting Portugal 6-2 in the first half alone. No way, right? Well, how is this possible? DR Congo sat in a super compact 5-3-2 defensive shape. They willingly gave up territory, but they ruthlessly won their duels and launched these lightning-fast direct transitions. They proved that having the ball literally doesn't mean a thing if you can't penetrate that final third. Section 1. The Ronaldo Problem, a fading star. To really understand why Portugal struggled so much to capitalize on all that dominance, we have to talk about the shifting legacy of their legendary superstar. At 41 years and 132 days old, I mean, you've really got to let that sink in for a second. Cristiano Ronaldo broke the record for the oldest outfield player to ever start a World Cup match, surpassing Canada's Atiba Hutchinson. It's an undeniable testament with ridiculous longevity and work ethic. Very few athletes in the history of sports have maintained the elite physical conditioning needed to compete on the world stage in their 40s. However, a closer look at recent performances reveals a really stark contrast in Portugal's attacking efficiency when their aging talisman is on the pitch. While Ronaldo used to be this dynamic winger who absolutely terrified defenses, he's now a much more static central forward. And the data doesn't lie. Portugal averages nearly a full goal more per game when he doesn't start. That's a huge difference. Without him, faster players make fluid runs into the attacking third. But with him, the system can get pretty rigid. Against DR Congo, that harsh statistical reality was on full display. It was a rigid performance lacking defensive contribution from him. He ended the match with 0 shots on target and a very low 5.9 player rating. On top of that, he's now failed to score in his last 10 World Cup and Euro matches. That is a staggering drought for a player of his caliber. Sure, he drew defenders to create space, but that vital spark needed to finish off those 459 passes his teammates strung together, it just wasn't there. So the crucial point here is the massive tension between these undeniable on-pitch struggles and the heavy burden of history. Listen to how Portugal's head coach, Roberto Martinez, defended his star. He said, "It makes no sense to take off the greatest goal scorer in the history of football in a match where we need goals." Martinez kept him on for the full 90 minutes, betting entirely on Ronaldo's historical clutch factor over his current statistical output. It's this fascinating standoff between data-driven modern football and the immense gravity of a legendary career. Section 2. DR Congo's 1974 Nightmare, the Ghosts of Zaire. Now, let's flip the script, move to the other side of the pitch, and look at this incredible underdog narrative. To truly appreciate the magnitude of DR Congo earning a point in this match, we have to travel back in time. Before this kickoff, it had been 52 long years since this nation, then known as Zaire, last appeared at the FIFA World Cup. For over half a century, the story of their one and only World Cup appearance has been completely misunderstood and, honestly, mocked. But the reality is deeply harrowing. Their 1974 campaign wasn't just a sporting failure, it was an untold political nightmare. The team was funded by dictator Mobutu Sese Seko, who initially showered them with gifts. But when they arrived in West Germany, the players discovered their qualification bonuses had been straight up stolen by corrupt officials. Totally demoralized, they essentially went on strike on the pitch, leading to a devastating 9-0 loss to Yugoslavia. Following that humiliation, Mobutu's presidential guards locked down their hotel and delivered a terrifying ultimatum. If they lost their final match to Brazil by 4 goals or more, none of them would be allowed to return home. Knowing that dark history completely changes how we view the infamous 1974 free kick incident. Late in that Brazil match, defender Mwepu Ilunga sprinted out of the defensive wall and booted the ball away before Brazil could even take their kick. For decades, commentators laughed at this as some bizarre moment of African innocence. But as Ilunga later revealed, I was fully aware of the rules and had hoped to be sent off in an act of protest. It was a desperate, calculated act by a man trying to escape the terrifying pressure of playing for his life. Knowing this puts DR Congo's return to the World Cup stage into an entirely new perspective. Section 3. Yoane Wissa's incredible comeback. Fast forward to 2026. The redemption of this nation's footballing history now rests on the shoulders of a modern squad, and particularly on one man who survived an absolutely harrowing personal tragedy. DR Congo forward Yoane Wissa's journey is just staggering. Just 5 years ago, in July 2021, he suffered severe chemical burns to his face and eyes from a horrific kidnapping attempt and acid attack right at his home. He had to undergo emergency eye surgery, and doctors told him he'd need eye drops for the rest of his life. It took 6 agonizing months of physical recovery for him to simply regain his full sight. His emotional court testimony reveals the immense psychological trauma he endured. He talked about developing a fear of the dark, panicking at sudden noises. The absolute mental fortitude required to simply survive that is mind-blowing. As he said, the only thing that kept me going was knowing my children are safe. To go from that level of sheer physical and psychological devastation to stepping back onto the pitch for elite professional football, it's nothing short of miraculous. Culminating this deeply personal and national journey, Wissa rose up in the box 5 minutes into first half stoppage time, connected with a pinpoint cross, and headed in DR Congo's first ever World Cup goal. I mean, what a moment. It was the brilliant equalizer that secured the 1-1 draw. Earning a 7.8 match rating, Wissa wasn't just scoring a goal, he was literally rewriting the history of his nation on the global stage. What you should really take away from this is the sheer undeniable power of human resilience. Section 4. Tactics, Tributes, and Standings. As we wrap up this explainer, let's look at the broader human elements of the match and what this historic draw means going forward. It's profoundly important to note the deep emotional weight carried by the Portuguese squad as well. They took the field honoring their teammate Diogo Jota, who tragically passed away in a car accident in the summer of 2025. Jota's parents were actually in the stands during the emotional pre-game anthems, and the Portuguese players wore special engraved memorial wristbands. Both teams out there were playing for something much, much larger than just 3 points. Looking at the Group K standings, this hard-fought point completely shakes things up. Colombia currently sits alone in the lead with 3 points after defeating Uzbekistan. Just below them, DR Congo and Portugal are deadlocked, tied with 1 point each. For a massive favorite like Portugal, this is a glaring wake-up call early in the tournament. But for DR Congo, it proves they absolutely belong here and are a legitimate threat to advance to the knockout stages. I want to leave you with this final thought. As the 2026 tournament progresses, which of these colliding legacies will ultimately define Group K? Can Portugal's manager figure out a way to harmonize his legendary aging superstar with a modern dynamic attacking system? Or is DR Congo, fueled by 52 years of ghosts and